he needs to be held accountable. He needs to not ever work in Hollywood again.
I didn't know him personally. I'd seen him on TV, in the movies, knew that he was a filmmaker and entrepreneur. But I had breakfast with our next speaker and guest this morning. He talked about his interest in this issue from a personal point of view, being the father of 3 children, 10, 8, and 3.
That's right.
So it's personal. So for parents and grandparents,
Think of the
across
children.
America, this man is not acting, he's for real. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
It's not acting, guys. He's for real this time.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm here to talk about the Section 230 Sunset Act. If you don't know and you're watching, Section 230, what it does is basically says that a platform on the internet can't be held liable for the content that it hosts, which I realize sounds sort of technical and boring. So why did I come out here to Washington, D.C. to support this? Well,
Let me be a little bit more clear. He's not technically wrong, but I think you need to look at the actual words of what Section 230 says to really understand it. And here it is, straight from Wikipedia. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. Now, Wikipedia gives us a really easy explanation of this just before it, saying at its core, Section 230C1 provides immunity from liability for providers and users of an interactive computer service who publish information provided by third-party users. Now, when he says they're not liable for what is hosted on their service, they are not liable for any third-party user posting something on their service that is illegal, defamatory, something of that matter, right? So naturally, if I posted a post on Twitter and somebody commented something defamatory in the comments, I, the user, as well as the platform, is not responsible for the words of that defamatory comment from the third-party user. That's what it's protecting. It's a fundamental freedom of expression that the internet relies on to exist in its current form. Joseph Gordon-Levitt just does not understand this, and you'll see why.
first and foremost, it's because I'm a dad, as the senator said. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
I hate this. Like, I'm a parent, so I get it. Like, shut up, dude. We're all human beings. We all understand things, okay? We understand what's morally right and wrong. You don't need to be a parent to suddenly have the ability to see clearly.
And a lot of people here today are parents whose kids... I just heard a couple stories that left me trying to keep myself together. These photos remind me of my kids. And the harm that was done to these kids online might have been prevented if certain big tech companies knew that they could be sued. But under Section 230, they cannot be.
I'm sorry, how could they be sued for bullying? Where is bullying specifically called out as illegal in speech? It's pretty much protected by the First Amendment, right? Kids that were, impacted by online bullying or, suicidal ideation, the content that people posted could have just as easily been said in a playground, been read in a book in a library, occurred in any other circumstance other than an online space. If you don't have the online space, you then will have a physical space in real life where that occurs, But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to let him cook for a little bit more.
So these amoral companies, they just keep allowing these awful things to happen on their platform, and they don't do anything about it because they will always prioritize profits over the public good, even when it comes to kids. And beyond being a dad, there's nothing in the world I love more than my family. But I do have a certain kind of love for the internet. I do. I co-founded an online community called Hit Record. It's still very dear to me. So I understand what Section 230 did to bring about the birth of the internet. That was 30 years ago. And I also understand how the internet has changed since then. Because back then, message boards and other websites with user-generated content, they really were more like telephone carriers. They were neutral platforms.
Never the case. Not once has a private entity running on the internet been a neutral arbiter. They have always had their own platform rules, and they have always enforced them to the extent that they want to enforce them. They have never been neutral service providers. They've never been provided in that way. They've never been seen that way as a utility. They are private entities. They are not neutral. They never have been.
That's not how things work anymore. Today, the internet is dominated by a small handful of these gigantic businesses that are not at all neutral, but instead algorithmically amplify whatever gets the most attention and maximizes ad revenue.
Okay, he's going into algorithms here, which, I'm sorry, but where does Section 230 deal with algorithms? It deals with user content and liability for user content, not for what the algorithm serves up.
And we know what happens when we let these engagement optimization algorithms be the lens that we see the world through. We get a mental health crisis, especially amongst young people. We get a rise in extremism and a rise in conspiracy theories. And then, of course, we get these echo chambers.
Now, Taylor Lorenz did a fantastic breakdown of this, which I urge you to check out after watching this. But this cry about a mental health crisis because of social media is kind of false. And it's not just teens. Like, everyone who uses social media is exposed to its biases, its algorithms, and how it treats information. It doesn't matter if you're 15 or 50. You're still impacted in some way. And Taylor Lorenz makes an argument that I agree with, that the situation economically and socioeconomically right now is much more responsible for mass mental health crises. If you can't find a job, you find it hard to put food on the table, you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's a stressor daily on you. If you're living in a world where your value is put down to just how much you can produce, but really on a different scale depending on what service category you're in, what industry you're in, you're paid a different rate, no matter how fundamental your role is to society. If you're a farmer, you're not earning tech billions. If you're a retail assistant, you're barely earning minimum wage while the company that you work for may be one of the biggest companies in the world. These are all much more salient pressures and contexts that are going to bring about mass mental health crises, right? Because it affects how we live our lives daily. Social media doesn't affect how we live our lives daily, it alters our communication. That's all it does. So, yes, you can argue that there's echo chambers, and you can argue that we have become more polarized as a society because of social media. But that is an effect of the change of communication and the globalization of communication. And sunsetting Section 230 would get rid of that free communication.
These algorithms, they amplify the demonization of the other side so badly that we can't even have a civil conversation. It seems like we can't agree on anything. And yet, one of the only things that the American public seems to agree broadly on right now, left, right, and center, Republicans, Democrats, independents, we all agree that we don't trust these big tech businesses and we don't like the influence they're having on our lives and the lives of our kids.
He's co-opting this very legitimate anger that I'm sure you're very well familiar with, that tech companies are just gouging the shit out of us and controlling a lot of the economic policy of the internet and our lives. But literally sunsetting 230 means that they would have to be responsible for everything that we post on the internet. They essentially become a book publisher or an editor in a news agency. Like, news is held accountable for everything it publishes because it has editors, it has review processes, it has a duty to the public to be truthful, right? The content providers of social media spaces do not have that relationship with us as users. So in order to have that relationship with us, they would have to read every message we ever post publicly or privately and vet it before it was posted. So you're actually arguing for mass expansion of surveillance and data collection. Like, this is fundamentally against what he is trying to argue this is for. It's not protective, it's exploitative. There's a reason why Meta is behind supporting this. Like, why the fuck would Meta want to introduce another system where they have to moderate if they can get something out of it, right? And what do they get out of it? All of the data that you've ever written or posted to the service, and the ability to be the final arbitrator of it, and the ability to exclude any other competition that doesn't have the capability to do this, to actually moderate millions, billions of users. Like, I'm really dumbfounded by how stupid Joseph Gordon-Levitt is. Like, how can you... I had a lot of respect for this guy before this. I had a lot of respect. I followed him on Instagram for years, and his hit record platform is, a good idea. It's cooperative work and for creative artists, and that's a genuinely good thing. But this is wholly against freedom. It's wholly against being able to have an opinion online. It's wholly for censorship and for mass exploitation of us. It is a blank check for the platforms to arbitrate our speech and decide what we're allowed to say.
Well, if we want to do something about that,
He's got tears in his eyes. You fuck off.
right first step is to sunset Section 230.
I hate this false... He's acting here. Don't get this wrong. At the start, they said that this is him being real. But no, he's acting here. Those tears are fake. Those tears... This is just a drummed up emotional message to hide the fact that this bill is against people's interest. He's trying to get past the argument by pleading to your emotional center. to your empathy. You know, these kids may still be alive if this didn't happen. No, they fucking wouldn't. They would be dead, as like they are dead now. If it wasn't the internet, it would have happened in real life. You know, shit happens in real life too. You don't need a social media platform for it not to. Like, literally, this is literally school shooters, right? Do we hold the schools responsible because they were students there? No. Because it's an individual's actions. Right? It's the same thing here.
Not going to solve everything, but it is the right first step.
It's not going to solve anything. It's going to make it a lot worse. And it is the absolute wrong first step. Don't get me wrong.
And I take a lot of hope being in this room today. This is truly a bipartisan group of people, and it's really representing the will of the American people.
He's blinking so fast to make those tears. Watch. I just want to go back.
Partisan group
Blink,
of people.
blink,
and it's
blink,
really
blink,
representing
blink, blink,
the will
blink,
of the American
blink.
people. Despite the
How do you
tech
make
industry
yourself look
spending
teary?
all kinds of money
Blink a
hiring
lot.
lobbyists trying to kill this thing.
I'm sorry, I talked over that bit.
Despite the tech industry spending all kinds of money hiring lobbyists trying to kill this thing.
They're actually spending a lot of money trying to support this thing through donors that make it harder to really see clearly that it is directly Meta and Israeli-backed, supported donors and funders that are behind this bill. I mean, Senator Lindsey Graham is a co-sponsor on this bill. Like, how do you... what more do you need to fucking know to know you're on the wrong side?
We are here. So I want to thank Senator Durbin, Senator Graham for co-sponsoring this bill. And I have a message for all the other senators out there. I want to see this thing pass 100-0. There should be nobody voting to give any more impunity to these tech companies.
I'm sorry. What? No more impunity? You're giving them so much impunity. You know they're not going to be held liable. They're never going to let that situation happen. What the situation they are going to let happen is the situation where they have to see every single thing that you post and they get full control over it. And you know who's going to pull the strings behind the scenes there? Governments and lobbyists. So no, Joe. No, I want to see 100 nays.
Nobody. It's time for a change. Let's make it happen.
Let's not. Fuck you, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Honestly. Like, you can just fuck off out of everywhere now. Like, get someone else to run your platform because you clearly don't care about anyone. And I honestly, like, I urge you to scream this at him as much as possible so he can't get past this message. So he can't look past the idiotic stance that he has taken. I used to think of him as a progressive. I used to think of him as someone that was, you know, a leftist, like on the right side of history. But he has taken such a crash course off it here. And he needs to be held accountable. He needs to not ever work in Hollywood again.